Network late night interview with a brother from the West Coast, Nat Star. How you saying,
Yes,
brother?
sir. What's good? What's good? Appreciate you having me, brother.
Respect, respect. So, yo, tell the people
Yeah.
where you're from. A little bit of your bio.
Yeah. Originally from North Carolina, from the East Coast,
Okay,
from
East.
Winston-Salem. Yeah. I've been in LA now for like 5 years, so I'm out in Cali.
All right.
Um, yeah, been rocking now for some years. Matter of fact, just dropped a project called The Archives, where it's been 20 years actually since I came up with Nastar, and so I just dropped a 20-song project of unreleased music. So yeah, just check that out when you get a chance.
Respect, man. So, yo, you're originally from
Yeah,
North Carolina.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, I know some brothers from there too, man. Great, great
Okay,
artists from there, yo. Trust me.
yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah, for sure,
Great people still humble all the time and everything. You know what I
for
mean? But
sure,
but
for
yeah, but
sure, definitely.
how did you find yourself going to the West Coast? Like, what made you want to
hmm
like leave North Carolina to go to the West?
it's funny actually. I originally was supposed to move when I was younger, like when I was like in my 20s. So me and my ex-wife, my wife at the time, we moved out there, and she was an actress, model, so that was
Mm.
the original plan. So I just kind of was with her on that trip, but we didn't stay that long. So then fast forward some years later, I went back out. I've been married twice, by the way.
Oh
I
damn.
went back, yeah, went back out with my second wife, and when I went out with her, um, everything was cool. And then eventually when we split up, I just stayed because by the time I came out there the second time, I started kind of developing a presence a little bit
Mhm.
and started loving the city, loving the state. And man, I've been pretty much been here ever since.
But the name Nat Star, how did that come about? Like, because it's
Yeah.
like you're going to Hollywood. That's what people will call it.
Yeah, right.
The city of angels or whatever,
Right. For sure.
Cali. So where did that
Definitely.
name? How did that name become?
Yeah. It's two different, it's kind of a double entendre. So my middle name is Nathaniel.
Ah, okay.
And then, but the actual Nat Star, when you put it together, it stands for Natural Star.
Mm.
And I came up with that name because I taught myself everything. I taught myself how to write, rap, record, mix, master, produce. And so, because it all came natural to me, I say I'm a natural star. So, Nat
I
Star.
like that. I like that. So,
Yeah.
yo, what was some of your musical, I would say, like, influences growing
Yeah.
up?
Um, Growing up as a kid, I was a big Crisscross fan for sure.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, I'm dating myself a little bit. Um, but I was big Crisscross, and then as I got a little older, I started getting into like Wu Tang.
Mhm.
But my number one influence, which is ironic, we talk about the West Coast, me living on the East Coast in a small city, was Dr. Dre, the Chronic.
Dr. Dre. Oh,
hmm
okay. The first
Yeah,
Chronic.
the first Chronic. Yeah.
That's good because if you
hmm
anybody who loves that or really takes in that album, you're not just an artist. I mean, like as
Yeah.
a performing artist, but like
Right.
as a engineer, the sounds like Dr. Dre. That's what really brought Dr. Dre out to the world. Like how he
Absolutely.
produced the album,
hmm
the even when he had the other chronics, the studio life, like how he had the engineers and
Yeah.
the musicians with
Right.
the hip hop artists. I think that's what
Right.
made it a classic because he was using the funk
hmm
samples, like how Wu
Right.
Tang
Right.
would sample the soul music. They're sampling the funk, right?
Right. Yeah. Wu Tang used to sample a lot of soul and karate movies and stuff
Mm,
like that. And so you make a great point because pretty much what you just said was the reason why I became fascinated with hip hop. So the first time I heard anything off the Chronic was nothing but a G thing. Obviously that was the lead out
yeah, yeah, I
single.
remember that too.
So yeah, when I listened to the song, I was so blown away with everything you just said. The production, the sounds, the creativity. It was something I had never heard before. It was a sound that was so different for me at the time. And
Hmm.
I was fortunate because my father, rest his soul, he worked for Atlantic Records, and so
Oh.
we had I had a little up. I'll say I had a up in the game as far as being connected to the industry at a really
Hmm.
young age,
Hmm.
and so I was so fascinated by the record that I went home and I just had like some little cheap pieces of equipment, and I put like a couple little pieces together to make a beat machine. And
Yeah.
I was playing the sound, the synthesizer sound, the sound that stands out in Dr. Dre's music,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
synth.
Yeah, I know. Mm. Yeah.
My dad bought me a professional keyboard for my 11th birthday.
Yeah.
And from that point on was when I was really starting to take it really serious and dive deep into it, learn production, learn writing, learn rapping, sing, like the
Hmm.
whole thing kind of came about around that time. So,
Yeah, man, because when you're around like a great influence, that's what happens. Same thing with my background. My pops was into the music. He was like
okay,
what you call a DJ, but in Jamaican culture, it's a sound man.
okay,
And he had all the
okay.
records, he had all the
Yeah.
equalizers, big ass
Hmm.
speakers in the basement. So
That was my
I know
dad
that.
for
Yeah,
sure.
same thing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man. Yeah,
So I know what you're
exactly
saying.
same
And I had
shit.
my keyboards too. Me and my brother, we created our own studio back in
Oh
the day.
man,
We had all the like people who we knew are like younger guys. We used to like bring in and make them do their shit. So yeah, I know.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that energy, man. I know.
It's a blessing, man. Like you probably sit and think sometime about how blessed you are to grow up with having a father like that and being
Yeah.
able to. Because man, it was the stuff that I was able to experience as a kid. Like
Mm,
some people, some grown like. Then when I think about like man, being in a small town, because like I was grew up in a really small town
mm,
in a small state,
yeah.
and having access to celebrities and coming through it was crazy for me, but it was all preparing me pretty much,
Yeah.
to
So
get to this point.
you're like what I would say the evolution of the artist because you're coming from a
Yeah.
generation of influence in the music already. So
Yeah,
you're an
absolutely.
artist and a producer, not just a
Hmm.
normal artist. You could
Right.
do everything yourself. There's a name for it. You get what I mean? You're doing
Yeah.
everything yourself. You could
Yeah.
get help if you want, but you're
Hmm.
navigating yourself. You're the
Right.
navigator. You get what
Right.
I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Same thing with me and my brother. We're the navigators, but it's the influence, a positive
Right.
influence. So how much of that you think is important for artists nowadays? Something like that, or anybody who's trying to be
Yeah.
professional in any role.
Hmm. I think it's important if you I think it's important if you have emphasis on um what's the word I'm looking for, substance. I think if you have a focus and an emphasis on substance and you're
Mm,
really serious about it, I think that's extremely important because I've had to become a student of the game. Like if you know, like I said, I'm 42 years old right now.
mm,
So
yeah.
I started when I was 11. So that's 30 plus years of being in this industry of writing, recording, performing, and you know what I mean.
Hmm.
The whole
And
thing.
learning the
So
business, actually knowing
learning the business
the laws of the
and
business.
learning the business, learning how to navigate through the evolution of the business. Because if you and I both know, hip hop is the only genre that evolves as fast as it does.
And you know what? It's going through a big change right now. I don't know if I should release the
Another
gem. I'm
change.
going to tell you, I don't know if I should
Okay,
release the gem, but people
I'm
like us
interested.
who have studied the game now, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And even though, as long as you're consistent and you never gave up,
Yeah.
they say most people become millionaires around the age we are right now.
Right.
So if you
Hmm.
had a plan and you kept doing it, the
You would be
algorithm, something's coming, right?
right
But it's
for
different.
sure.
It's different compared to the person who came in as young and they were stuck in a contract. Now you know
Right.
everything. Nothing's gonna be hustling you. You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the
Mhm.
way how you put in, like I'm saying, I see that you have a fan base. You do it's organic. I
Mhm.
see you're on
Right.
Twitter. That's how we linked. I'm telling people we
Right.
linked from Twitter.
On
Not
Twitter.
even not even the gram.
Right. On Twitter for sure.
So normally I get some people from the gram, but it's the Twitter. So that shows you the
Right.
algorithm. You have your
Right.
people. You have a presence on there, and on
Right.
your Instagram, I could see
Right.
that you have an organic that you built that right.
Right.
So
Right. Absolutely.
so all those years putting in because I seen that you have a like a catalog yourself. Like you got
Yeah.
visuals, good quality visuals. You got
Thank you. Appreciate it.
you just look Google on like whatever
Yeah.
Spotify
Right.
and all that. You're there, and you
Right.
got some new shit out right now. This one
Right.
was called Is it Mamba?
Mamba. Right.
Mamba.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this one. This one. People got to check it out. But what I'm saying, you got a catalog. Like,
Yeah.
what gives you
Yeah.
the inspiration to like when you're thinking of a new like idea concept to write?
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, do you have a
Yeah.
certain type of what people say a ritual or a certain
Yeah.
time when you want to put like the pen to the paper or what? How you do it?
Right. It's you know what? Honestly, it can be it's random. It's a structured randomness, if that makes it might not make sense, but there's method to the madness, like they usually say, right? In my case, what I typically do is like I'll see where I'm at, at that. So let's just say with Mamba, for example, I had plans 2 years out, to do Mamba. I had already had plans to do the album. I said I want to do it in 2024, the year of,
Mhm.
the Kobe year. Hold on a
Yeah,
second. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought somebody was. Yeah, I said I had the plans on doing it, Kobe year.
Hmm.
I wanted to do 24 tracks. So I already was 2 years.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just allow it. It
Yeah.
might be a day where I might be doing one thing and idea might come, I'll
Hmm.
run to the studio and go record.
Hmm.
Get the idea out. So it's random sometimes, it's sporadic, but I set deadlines so I can make sure that I'm getting my projects out.
All right. So like
Mm,
right now you're in the West Coast. What's the feedback you get back? You've been getting in the West. Like how's the market there? Like, alone right now for you.
hold on. Did I disappear? Oh, there we go. My fault.
Yeah.
Um, I'll say so the market out here is so in LA, I'll say in LA personally, it's like obviously Kendrick is, you know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of the sound they're focused like the market is focused like on that GNX sound right now.
Yeah, I
You
see
know
what
what I
you mean.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about the way that I built my fan base that I think it's one of those things to where like you just mentioned to where it's like the algorithm was gonna catch up.
Mm.
So I built my fan base from the outside in as
Yeah.
opposed to the inside out.
I see what I
So
mean.
the disadvantages of my method is that it's hard to define exactly where my fans are because they're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
you're right.
all
I was
over
thinking that too. They're all over. Yeah.
they're
They're
all
all
over
over.
the place, you know what I mean? So for me, I I put myself in a strategy that one allowed me to meet you, which you
Mm.
know what I'm saying, which I'm glad we crossed paths. Um it's a strategy where it's more so like, I'm gonna just I'm just gonna focus on my tribe and I'm gonna go after my people and I'm gonna just feed my people and I'm gonna watch that grow.
Yeah.
And that's been my strategy. I don't care if you from Jamaica, if you from Africa, if you from America, if you from
Yeah.
wherever in the world that you are, if you fuck with me, then I fuck with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we can connect like we connecting right now. The internet can connect anybody all over the world. You're not bound. You know,
No, not bound.
you're not bound. I started subscribing to this concept from the very beginning,
Hmm.
which is which is why you see how it was built. You know what I mean? How my
Hmm.
whole platform is built, because I stayed on that strategy from building from the outside in,
Yeah.
from the beginning, and I've tried to stay at least as consistent as I can be, as possible. So
And you network, I could tell. So
network,
how important is that? Tell the people for
networking,
networking, because that's how we linked, right?
yeah.
Example, like a lot of artists need it. Like as much as we see podcasts or interviews or whatever out there, there's still not enough artists. You know how much artists I've seen out there? They don't have no
Yeah,
marketing. They want to do the
right,
music. They might get
right.
it recorded, but the
Hmm.
business side is really low. It's not even equal to how much art they
So
put. I don't think anybody
right,
illustrated like that. It's
yeah,
more the like the independent artists still got to learn the
hmm,
business. A lot of them
right,
still. There's people who are
yeah,
independent who know the business, but it's not a balance.
right. Well, so I'll just say this: when it comes to independent artists, there was a point. So remember, we talk about going from generation to generation. I got 3 decades in this game, so to speak,
Mhm.
right? So when I first started doing music, we recorded on tape.
Me too.
I
Yep.
recorded all my stuff
Tape.
on tape, like
Yep.
tape,
Yep.
right? To the point where my father my father bought a new car one day, and it came with a CD deck, and I was pissed because I couldn't play my music in
You
his
can
car.
record it.
Yeah, and then eventually he got a CD recorder,
Yeah.
right? So in those, so we talking, this was like the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
The artists at that time, you didn't have access to build your own fan base unless it was in your own hometown.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have been able to happen in
You're right.
1997 or
You're right.
98 or 99, right? So the role of an artist, went from being, okay, you're just the artist. The artist sometimes will have writers, or maybe he write his own shit, she write her own shit.
Mm.
But when you're signed to the label, they handle everything. You
Yes.
just focus on the artist. So the rules changed, and the roles changed, and the responsibility, it's more responsibility on the artist now. You have to be your own PR. You
And
have
that's
to network.
that's why I believe
Yeah.
even if you're an artist, like just say you're the solo artist, what I believe
Right.
what will help more is when you have a team. If you're lucky enough to have a team. If you're
Yeah.
lucky, not everybody have that, but if you have people who are like
Hmm.
they're there, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Nothing's gonna stop you. That's why Drake is where he is at. That's what I'm telling
Because he
people.
got that team. Yeah.
Drake has a team. He has like
Team.
four guys
Right.
close to him from his hometown
Hometown.
with him.
Hmm.
That's why Drake is where he's at. You
Right.
need to tell
Right.
people.
And they all work their respective roles. And they stay the same thing with LeBron James. If
Yep.
you look at his close circle, you got Maverick Carter, you
Hmm.
got Rich Paul, and
Hmm.
you got Randy, and then I forgot the other guy's name, but it's like, actually, I think it's those four guys, and they all play their roles significantly. People
It's the,
see LeBron, but those three guys,
yeah. That's Drake
they the
too. That's Drake.
that's
People
Drake.
don't realize
Hmm.
he got
Chubbs,
Chubbs. He got 40, but he's in the background, right?
40,
40.
right.
He got
But shout out to
his
40.
he
None
got
of this
Preem.
happens without 40.
You're right.
Let me
See, he's
just
in the
let me just
background.
yeah, 40. And he would say this. I guarantee you, if you get the opportunity to interview Drake will tell you himself, 40. Like, none of this happens with 40. Was 40. And I pray that man stays healthy, because I know his situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this Kendrick and this Drake thing? Like as
hmm,
an artist, because I
yeah,
asked some people, but not enough. You probably is one of the fresh ones
yeah.
to ask that question. What do you think about this whole thing?
Well, before I give my opinion, I I saw something that was fascinating yesterday. Did you know that J. Cole introduced Kendrick to Dr.
I
Dre,
could to Doctor Dr. Dre, I could believe that. Yes.
which to me explains why he got he got the word to fall back before everything went crazy. That's my theory.
Mm, you're right.
That's
Yeah,
my
because
theory. My theory
Kendrick
is
is
like,
linked
bro,
through Jay-Z too, remember? and Jay-Z worked with Dr. Dre to do some of his
Right,
whatever album
right,
before
right.
too. So
Yeah,
they have
you
that
know, it's
link.
funny. Drake is actually linked to Jay Z. Drake is linked to Dr. Dre too, which is funny.
What's the link
They're
there?
all
Yeah, they are linked
he
in
did.
some way.
He wrote for him. He wrote some songs for him. He did
Sorry.
writing for him. He was in the studio.
Ghostwriting.
Yeah,
You're
just
right.
yeah,
You
he
know
did some
what?
ghost writing for him.
You know what? We brought something fresh up right now that you're saying this. A lot of people are accusing Drake as a ghostwriter, but he's
Hmm
been ghostwriting
He's
himself for
ghost writing
people.
for other people. Yeah,
So it kind of doesn't make no sense to me if he's
yeah,
ghostwriting for people.
yeah. Well, what people see, this is what people don't understand. Like, so not only have I been an artist, but I've been a CEO of a business. I've had I had a business that I ran for about 4 or 5 years before
Mhm.
unfortunately I had to bankrupt it. But when you're in this position, when you're in that position, when you're high up and you can afford to pay for things that make your job a lot easier, you do
Mhm.
that shit. The average mind don't understand that. The average mind thinks, well, you gotta. Well,
Yeah.
the point is to work smarter, not harder. And wealthy people understand that concept. Drake is a
Yeah.
wealthy man.
Yep.
Drake knows, okay, I can write. I can sit here and write and write and write and write, but I got to do an interview today. I
You're
got a
right.
tour to go on tomorrow. I got to
Yep.
hop off of this tour. I got to go to this interview. Then I got to go here. I got to go there. I got a meeting here. Then I
You're
got to have
right.
this album done by this
Yep.
date.
Hmm.
I got to go, think
He's
about it.
on that
Like you,
Michael Jackson tip, I would say, kind of.
that's what I'm saying. So the average person want to be like, well, you're not writing, but they're not looking at the fact that this man is on tour for 90
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
and 100 different locations, from and the reason why I can speak on
Mm.
this is because number one, I've been there. Number two, I had the experience with my father growing up
Mm.
with these artists when they came in
Yeah.
town. So I got the opportunity to see how hectic their schedule is.
It's
And the
true.
average person don't understand that.
Yeah, because
So
you're on
when
a different level. Now I
you're on
really
a
look on it.
different
I
you're on a
used to
different
see
level.
the other side because the
Hmm
so-called purist hip hop, but now he's not
Yeah,
hip hop. He's
yeah,
international. He's pop.
yeah, yeah.
He's doing something what people don't understand. Where yeah,
Right,
he has his own music, but there's so
right.
much music he has to do that he doesn't. He could easily just pick something what someone wrote. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they
yeah,
gave it to him. That's part of
yeah.
the industry. People
That
been
it
doing it.
it is what it is.
That's what it is.
I know. Look, this story. I'll give you a story. Jay-Z is my favorite rapper of all time.
All right.
All right. My mentor, his name is Ski Beats. He produced um Politics as Usual. He produced Dead Presidents, his first single.
Mm,
He produced Feeling It, and he produced
feeling it.
22 Twos off with Reasonable Doubt.
I think I heard
He
I heard of Ski Beats. I heard of Ski Beats.
Ski
Yeah, yeah,
Beats,
yeah.
yeah. You heard of Camp Low, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Lucchini, those my brothers. Shout out
Oh,
Camp Low. Suede. Hold
oh,
on, I got a
legends.
PSA real quick. Suede, Chiba. If y'all watching this or if you catch this,
You'll catch it.
stop, bro. It's so much money y'all could be making right now. I need y'all to patch up whatever the hell y'all got going on and stop tripping because it's too much money out here. We can be
Legends,
out here
yo.
making money.
It's the
I'm
time,
sorry to
man.
throw that out there because those my brothers and I hate to see them in the space they in right
That,
now.
but now this the time. I feel like, for example, I heard your style. I listened to your music. I gotta listen to more. But when you say Camplo, right? I think
I
for
love them.
some reason I feel that energy. That's what hip hop wants again because
Oh yeah, yeah.
Kendrick kind of twisted the knob a little bit now.
For
Even though
sure, for
people
sure.
love Drake, yes, Drake, but now
hmm
this Kendrick stuff, even though people are,
hmm
there's the back and forth war.
It's his season right now.
This is hip hop. Like he's
Yeah.
those this songs when he came with to Drake, those are hip hop theme samples.
Facts,
So people don't
facts.
understand Drake is good lyrically, but it's
hmm
just the sounds what he picked. Like if Drake just
Yeah.
picked to me in the battle like a Wu-Tang beat,
yeah.
threw off
Right,
people,
right,
and after
right.
then came with some lyrics,
Yeah.
maybe I'm giving a gem. He would have changed people's perception, but what he stick to the, I think
Just
Drake
his
had some shots too.
Yeah.
I think so, but
Yeah.
you know, it's the whole persona that he's so big. People don't want
Yeah.
to see someone so big win all the time. They just don't want
That
to see
too.
someone win all the time. So Kendrick,
That too.
he's a winner, but it's
Mhm.
like, to me, like I brought this up to another
Mhm.
American brother. I think people
Right.
want to see the Messiah, like Kendrick's like the Messiah, the savior,
Yeah.
and Drake's the colonizer because he's not
Because
really
he's
American, but he's
some.
American.
Yeah. So it's I was gonna bring that point up. The fact that he's not American
Yeah,
plays a big part in this beef
yeah,
because hip hop is an American sport.
yeah, yeah,
Hip hop is originated from America. It's an American sport, and the other part of that is L.A. Hold on, just a second, bro. My
yeah,
fault.
yeah, yeah. That's all right. That's all right. It's
Hold
down
up.
to earth. It's down to earth,
For sure,
man.
my
With
dog.
Nat
Appreciate
Star.
it. Yeah. What's up, bro? How you, man?
Down to earth with Nat Star, live and direct. What you saying,
Live
people?
and direct, yes, sir.
Yeah, man. In the
Hold on a
West
second.
Coast to the six. Yeah, man. Right in the six. Drake came up from like what 15 years. He's been in the game 15, 16 years, and now
hmm
about the same time Kendrick. I don't think I think Kendrick came what about the same time or a little after. I know.
Kendrick came. So yeah, Kendrick came after.
Yeah,
Kendrick
because
came like a little bit after. Because Drake put him on his tour. That was one of the big moments for Kendrick was
mhm.
when Drake put him on his tour.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Kendrick came after. But yeah, back what I was gonna say. See, so living in LA, that's the other thing,
Mm.
and realizing how strong the impact of LA like just LA culture. I'm not even gonna say LA hip hop.
Culture.
LA culture is so big, bro. That it was almost like, man, look, uh, he was playing. Let's just say the Raptors had to visit the Lakers on their home turf.
Yeah,
He didn't. We not playing in Toronto. It's Kendrick had home court advantage.
yeah,
Kendrick and you're in Canada, so it's like if an American got a pick, they gonna probably rock with an American.
yeah,
And when it comes to hip hop, and that will take away any of Drake's greatness. I think he's an amazing artist.
yeah,
As a matter of fact, his ceiling, and this is not a shot to neither Kendrick or Drake, but he has a higher ceiling than Kendrick does.
mhm.
And here's what I mean by that. Think about if you go back over his discography.
Yeah,
Drake has Afro beats in his discography.
yeah. Different,
He's
like
got
versatile. You're saying, yeah,
yeah. So those sounds take you beyond the United States.
yes,
And just as an American, I'll admit that Americans are very self-centered. We believe that everything is centered around America. We believe America is the greatest shit ever, and nothing's
yeah,
better than America.
yeah,
And America, 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 America. And look, from a man as I've been to 22 countries. I've been fortunate enough to
yeah.
have been
He
damn
traveled.
near
He
all
traveled.
over the
Yeah,
world. Yeah, very
yeah,
very traveled, and you start discovering, no, America it ain't the only dope country in this fucking world.
yeah. You know
America's
what it
not
is?
the.
You see what you're saying there? That's rare, but I understand what you're saying.
I gotta keep it real.
I understand what you're saying because for a long time, years, right? Down
hmm
here in Canada, that's how someone would describe how American would be. Like, like if even if it's
Yeah,
even if it's a stereotype, that's how they
yeah,
would describe that. But you know what? That's why with the not like us, a lot of so-called black Canadians or whoever or all the Canadians, they
yeah,
thought that was a diss to us. No, that was just Compton, a diss to like anybody.
yeah.
Even the New York people,
hmm
I'm hearing New York people
Right,
didn't like the not like us because a lot of them, I heard this concept are with Drake more because they
right,
feel, from back in the day, the West Coast and the East Coast shit, that they
right,
will
right,
stick
right.
with Drake.
Right,
They-
because yeah,
they
that's
go-
yeah. It's still it's still a stain on Tupac and Biggie. You
yeah,
said basically.
So they'll
People
go to
still
Drake.
mad about Biggie, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
hearing that stuff
listen,
though.
you know, I think it was I enjoyed the beef. I enjoyed the battle. I thought it was good for hip hop. I hate that, um it got to the point where Drake felt like he had to sue. You know what I mean?
No, man. See, I seen that coming from Toronto. This is
Mhm,
why more content makers from America should really link with people down here like us, and not just one
mhm.
or two people. Linked with everybody because he always been like that. There's certain things the
Okay.
American media, as much as they talk about Drake, they make it look like
Right.
it's a surprise. When he was on Degrassi, he was an actor.
Mhm.
Originally, he was an
Right.
actor, right?
Right.
He
Right.
sued. He left the show because they weren't gonna continue. They weren't gonna make him start to walk. He was Jimmy on the wheelchair, so
Oh,
he
he was
wanted.
tired of being in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so the contract he didn't sign it or some shit like that, and then he started his music career. He was on the
Yeah.
show for 7 years,
Wow.
7 years.
I got
That
actually a Drake story I never told on any platform. I actually don't even talk about this, but um Drake, the first time Drake ever came to Atlanta, the guy that brought him to Atlanta was one of my old managers named T Slack.
mm,
So if you ever do any research on Drake, see if you pull up the name T Slack.
T Slack.
T Slack was his one of his first matter. He was his first American manager, I believe,
Mm.
before he connected with Jay Prince, who ultimately connected with Lil
Uh,
Wayne.
I
Yeah,
see.
so
Yeah.
so my guy was in Louisiana, but he was always in Texas. He's in Dallas right now,
Mm.
but he was always in Texas. So there was, some kind of connection there. But yeah, Drake came to Atlanta first. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that. I heard that before. Yeah, he came to
hmm
Atlanta first. Yeah.
When he was in Atlanta, he was with my people.
hmm Because
He was
you
with
know
my people.
what?
He recorded at the studio that I was at and everything. Yeah.
But it makes sense because those times, what? Okay, say that was 2009, 2010, or something. He was
Right.
coming there around
Right.
the mid 2000s, even before that. It depends because I'm an OG. And I have an older brother. They used
hmm
certain Toronto guys, right, who
Right.
was just networking. The guys who were networking, they would
Right.
go to America a lot. They would go
Okay.
travel. They would go to places like that, right,
Right.
and come back
Okay.
to Toronto and shit like that, and go
Right.
back and forth. And they told me they were, my brother went down to I don't know if it was Atlanta. He went to Alabama,
Oh,
right? They
okay.
were gonna go. They went to a couple states, but what I'm saying, like the whole feeling for somebody
Right.
who's an artist to do that trip from Toronto was known. If you go to Atlanta, you're gonna meet
hmm
people.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
couple people who went before him years before. They just didn't get
Okay.
the lotto. They didn't get the lotto. See, a lot of people don't
Gotcha.
even talk about those stories. There's been a lot of
hmm
Toronto people been going to America for years, if way
Right.
before Drake. Some got
Right.
through. Cardinal got through. Maestro,
Cardinal. Yep.
this guy named Maestro, who was like the godfather of hip hop up here in the late
Okay.
80s. He first
Tory,
rocked
of
down
course.
there. He worked with
Well, Tory
show
eventually. I'm sorry.
yeah, Tory too. Like,
Mm.
yeah, people, but before them too, the ones you don't know, like
Right.
Socrates. He's another one. He's known. Socrates was
O-
with the Red Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then there's Chaos, another guy named Chaos. He was
Gotcha.
kind of known. Miss Shimi, the first lady of Toronto, Canadian hip hop.
See,
She
you're
was
gonna
down
make
there in
me
the
do some
80s.
research.
She was there in the
See, I gotta
like
do
we
some
have
research now.
Toronto been in the industry from the 80s, like as much as
That's dope.
the in New York, like from the early 80s. You get what I
Okay.
mean?
See, now I'm
There's
about to do some research, man. You
yeah.
got me.
So
Yeah, I'm
Drake
gonna have to
comes from a
pull up.
city where there's like as much as people clown Drake, Drake comes from a city
There's
where there's
history.
MCs. Like you had to be.
Yeah.
It was a hard. They called here the Screwface capital as for a nickname. It was hard for people to perform if you're not good. It had that New York type of vibe. Like you had to bring the lyric. It had to be lyrical.
You had to
It
bring it.
wasn't
Yeah.
like what
hmm
people.
I grew up in that
Yeah.
environment. Yeah,
So
for
and
sure.
they're very judgmental down. Here.
hmm
So
Oh, that's okay. So y'all like that.
So
Okay.
Drake wasn't loved like that first, eh? Like when he
Yeah.
was down here, people used to like he wasn't like the guy like when he
Right.
first was doing
He
what
had
he
a
was doing. No, and he
Right. He
had
had to
his beefs
earn.
before. He had, you see all
Right.
these beefs what he had, what you see with Kendrick. As much as it
Right.
is, he likes fun. He might play like he doesn't like it, but he loves
But he
this
loves it.
because
I know. I can
his
look at. I
career
could tell.
started in beef.
I could
His
tell
career,
because
yeah, his career.
he's too crafty with his he's too crafty with his style, the way that he puts shit together. Like you could tell that's a professional. He's been doing this
He's
shit.
been doing it
He's
from
been doing
before
this.
he even hit America. He had the beefs.
Yeah.
He had beefs in Toronto with guys here, at least three,
Oh wow.
and those guys were going on. There's a story. Oh, I don't want that's getting deep. I don't give a shit. But Drake done a song, one of his main songs, "I'm So Fly." We came on a
hmm
remix, and it was this guy Page, who was bigger than him way before, right? This guy was one of
Okay.
the first Canadian guys with the biggest grill chains and everything.
Right.
This guy, he looked like Biggie, like he's like that stature, like Biggie,
Oh, he
right?
was a big dude. Okay.
So when Drake took off with that track, he didn't take off with that track.
Right.
He got like no one heard of Page anymore. I'm just saying. I don't know if that was the beef, but that was one of his
Right.
beefs. You
It
know what I
could
mean?
be.
In
Yeah.
Toronto, that was a beef
Yeah,
what
it
he
could
had.
be.
That's one of the beefs.
Mm.
So this whole
You
Kendrick thing
remember
is
the
not new.
song? You remember the song "Replacement Girl"?
No,
So he had a song called "Replacement Girl." That was one. It was supposed to be one of his first hits. Had Trey Songz on it.
oh yeah, Trey Songz was down here a
Trey
lot.
Song.
They done a video
Yeah,
too.
he had. Right, that's the one. The first one,
Yeah.
the first video.
Mm.
He was actually he sung that hook, and he didn't want to. During that time it was weird because it was like you couldn't sing or rap. That's why he broke the mold. He was one of the first people that kind of was the singing rapping guy, but he had sung that hook, but
Mm.
didn't want to. He didn't want he didn't want to be singing on it, so he got Trey Songz. But it's crazy to
Uh,
think about it. Like, man, he could have. That was during that time when I told you my manager was managing him. Like they paid Trey Songz like 15 racks or something like that for the hook.
mm.
He could have kept that, man. Like knowing the Drake that we know now, he didn't need Trey Songz.
It's funny
Hmm.
because there's a guy, right, which I made a podcast about, but it's just straight up. And this is one of his first beefs. I call him the original
Right.
Six God. His name is Jay Diggs.
Oh
And I
wow.
need that interview from you, Jay Diggs. His name is Jay Diggs. I called him the real Six God. This
Oh wow.
guy, they look like split in image, him and Drake.
Mm.
But he came up before Drake. This guy
Mhm.
had quality videos before Drake. He was on a
Right.
Canadian tour with Game before a
Oh
lot of
wow.
Toronto artists. This guy he used to Drake dressed like this guy. I don't care what anybody said. He got some
Oh wow.
inspiration from this guy named Jay Diggs. Look him up, Jay Diggs,
Jay
right?
Diggs. I'm gonna check him out.
This guy was one of the first Canadian guys to really get good features, like when like hip hop started to like the Game
Right.
times, 50 Cent
Right.
times. He was
Okay,
doing
so
it.
like 05, 06, like
Yeah, so this guy
yeah.
was before. You see what you just said? 05, 06.
hmm
This guy was doing it from 2003, 2002,
Oh,
2003. Good
gotcha.
quality videos. I was 20. I'll tell you my age. I was 22 that time. So when I was 22,
Okay.
this guy was already doing before Drake. Like
Okay.
3 years, 4 years before Drake. Doing
Right.
the same
Right.
with the C's, the same, and he had the
hmm
singing too. He done the kind of like the
The
reggae
whole
with the
thing.
hip hop. Yeah, the whole
Oh
reggae
wow.
hip hop shit. People, this
He
gonna go
did that.
viral. This is gonna go
He did
viral.
that.
He
Wow.
was already doing that.
He was doing it. I'm gonna check him out.
And then he actually
I
had
gotta check
Drake
him
on
out.
his album, and he had Drake on his album. He had Drake
Mm.
on his album, but he didn't put his name in the credits. And Drake was
Oh
the one
wow.
rap. Drake was he? Yeah, rapping, and they had this guy singing
hmm
how Drake sings. They got this white guy to sing. I
hmm
forgot his name to sing the hook, but it sounded like how Drake would be doing
How
like the
Drake was
singing.
singing.
But
Did he
Drake is
write it?
no, the guy. What's his name? Jay Diggs. I
He wrote.
feel
Okay.
was the guy who was kind of like a mentor to Drake.
Gotcha.
Because this guy has his own story too, but when you see it, he was the guy,
Yeah.
like he told a story. I'm going to give you a quick story. What he said. He said when he
hmm
used to perform, Drake would
Right.
ask to come to his events and he would have to come downstairs to get Drake.
Okay. So
because
he
no
looked
one
out
would.
for him like in the beginning.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And this guy's
Hmm
dressed. He started to dress like him, like it or not. He started to
Yeah,
dress like him. To
he
me, it
looked
looked
up to
like
him. Yeah.
he looked up to.
So did they have like a falling out or something like that along the way?
Yeah, over a girl. That
Yeah.
girl who was the one in Six and Park host. What's her name?
Oh,
Keisha Shante,
oh,
I think.
okay.
Yeah. So that was
Dang.
Drake's girl, one of his first girls, right?
Yeah.
And he thought that Jay Diggs was checking her, and that was one of his first beefs out of Toronto.
Dang. Always over a girl.
But Jay Diggs disappeared after that.
Damn.
Disappeared. He started going,
Damn.
that story, the normal story, what
Yeah.
happens. So
Well, you
he
gotta
disappeared,
hit me when you do.
and Drake started to get big. Soon as he disappeared, that's when Drake
Yeah.
took off.
I wanna
2008.
see that interview. When you do
Yep.
that interview, you gotta hit me. Let me know. I
Or
want to hear
Jay
that
Diggs,
story.
everybody probably wants his interview. I talk Jay
That's what I'm
Diggs,
talking about.
I
I
know.
want to see. I want to see that interview. Um, I got my own little stories. Like I said, I was
Yeah.
around during that time. I never got the chance to meet Drake, but like I said, we had the same manager. I was producing, and what it was, I was producing for this guy named Double E
Mm,
at the time. He was a rapper, and I wasn't. I wasn't even rapping. I was just producing,
mm,
and so I was T Slack's main producer. But it was always weird. I had to know there was something different about Drake in a weird way because like
mm,
Slack was crazy about my beats. Like he sent my beats to everybody, but it
mm,
was like when it came to Drake, he started getting real weird about my,
mm.
like it's like he's not sending my stuff to him or I wouldn't hear about nothing related.
Yeah.
He would just keep Drake over here and
Yeah.
then it would be me and Eddie over here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I used to find that kind of weird, but I ain't trip about it. You know what I'm saying? And then shit, me and Slack, we fell out. Him and
Oh.
Slack fell out. Yeah, like I stopped dealing with Slack. That's my boy now. Like shout
Mm.
out to T Slack. That's my dog.
That's
But
up.
we stopped dealing and then they stopped dealing. And then I just remember it was weird, like a year after they stopped dealing, he was everywhere.
You see? And what
He
year
was
was
everywhere,
that?
but
What year
that
was
was
that?
let's see. I stopped dealing with T Slack, I'm gonna say around 2006. Because the disconnect between me and
Mm,
Slack was he met so kind of the Kanye syndrome. I dealt with the Kanye
mm,
syndrome. The people met me as a producer,
mm,
but I was rapping before that, but I put my raps to the side and was like, all right, I'm gonna just focus on beats. So people started meeting me as a producer, and then so when I got back into making music, it's like, oh, okay. And
mm.
then I think it was, and like I said, Slack, you my dog, but there was one situation where like he had shot one of my songs to I was sending him my actual music, my actual
Mm.
songs. He was sending my songs to writers and singers and stuff for the beat. And he
Oh,
would hit
see.
me back and be like, "Hey, this person is interested in this beat." And I'm like, "Bro, that's my song." Like what? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so somewhere along the line there was a disconnect
Yeah, I
and
see. I see what you mean.
you know what I mean? And then so that was '06 was when I started focusing more on my brand as Nat Star and
Mm,
less as the producer, more as
mm.
the artist. And I
More as
think
the artist,
he was kind of more interested in me the producer
the
than me the
producer.
artist. And
So,
and I get it, that's cool.
so you know what's going
But
on because he was, to me, what I see, he was benefiting
mhm,
off of your production to shop to all these different artists. It's like instead of one
yeah,
artist, I could have 10
eh,
artists with these beats.
right.
You get what
But
I
I
mean?
think what
A
it
single
was
game came. Remember?
I think right. And I think also what it was with Drake, there was like he was already on another level. MySpace was hot at the
Mm,
time. He was killing MySpace
mhm.
and he was hot in Toronto.
Yeah.
So comeback season just dropped.
Yeah. You're right.
Um right, so that's when I was first introduced to Drake. Comeback season was when Slack was involved. So Slack kind of had his fingerprints on that, and then whatever was coming up next. and then they disconnected, and then So Far Gone came out after
Hmm.
that. And once So Far Gone dropped, the rest is history.
And So
So
Far Gone, what year was that again? So Far Gone?
that was shit. Was that 09?
Oh, nine. Okay, right before he got signed to Cash Money. I mean, Young Money.
To Young
'Cause-
Money? Yeah, it was that little space between
yeah,
that
yeah,
that little. So Far Gone started just going crazy on the mixtape scene.
yeah. Because I'm gonna rewind it for you again. Right at 2006,
Hmm.
right before Drake, because I was in my 20s too. Before Drake, I knew of this guy named Jay Diggs. Drake
Right.
just came out of nowhere, and when I saw Drake, I said, "Wait a minute!" It reminded me. I don't care what anyone says. I didn't know this in Toronto. It reminded me of
Yeah.
Jay Diggs because Jay Diggs
Right.
was the only light-skinned brother
Got
around in
that
the
was
2000s who was
right.
bringing quality music with
Right.
that type of vibe like what you see Drake now. He has the reggae
Hmm.
and the hip hop mix. What does
Right.
Drake
Right.
do? The reggae and the hip
Same
hop
thing.
shit. You get what I
Right.
mean? And this man just
Hmm.
disappeared. He just went behind scenes. He's a video director now. Respect to
Wow.
Jay Diggs. You know?
Wow. That's
Remember,
crazy.
people could get money. You know the industry.
Yeah.
Someone who say, "Yo, take this money." You don't have to be, because to me, if this man was still big, it would be kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
why the real thing I think is Weekend. When you talk about this whole Kendrick stuff, I was telling people it's not that. It's really
Right.
the Weekend because the Weekend is the same thing, one of the biggest artists in the world, if not
For
right there with
sure.
Drake. And
Right.
he's from
Right.
Toronto too. And this
Right.
is what's bubbling Toronto right now. I was
Right.
telling
Right.
people months ago that it's really OVO and EXO. And now that you're hearing people call
That's
them,
a Toronto
you know,
thing, though.
it's really
So
a
you
Toronto
so
thing.
it's a
Kendrick
Toronto.
is
So
friends with
like
Weekend. Kendrick is friends
so
with Weekend.
the thing that most people aren't gonna know about that OVO XO thing, I knew about it just because I do my research,
Yeah.
but a lot of the masses aren't gonna understand
No,
that
that's the
dynamic
real beef.
because it's a Toronto thing. It's literally,
Yes.
and
It's really a
you go
Toronto
back
beef.
into the history of that too. Drake tried to sign The Weeknd
Weekend and
because
then
right then The Weeknd, to his credit, he's like, shit, I'd rather take a gamble on myself. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to The Weeknd. I would have
and Belly,
probably
you know who Belly is, right? That's his
uh-huh.
guy. So
I'm
if you want
familiar
to
with
hear
him.
the story, Belly had a record label for years in Canada, became
Right,
big, hit some links in the States, and then
right.
he transformed his label with another guy from where he's from, Montreal or Ottawa, and then they
Okay.
started EXO with The Weeknd.
Gotcha.
So Belly was already
Gotcha.
big. This guy Belly, who
Right.
you seen
Mm-hmm.
with Jay-Z, back in the early
Yeah.
2000s, late 90s, he
Mm-hmm.
was a guy who already had money
For sure. Right.
from the middle. He's Middle Eastern, but loves
Right.
hip hop. He already had the
Right.
money. He had videos like how you see in America. When you seen Belly videos, it's like, yo, this guy has like the cars. He has you get what I mean?
Everything.
To have that, you
Right.
stand out, and that's
For
who
sure.
Weekend chose. That's his crew.
Right. He
So
he you know, he went with his, you go with your gut, man. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not the knock Drake. The thing is, man, I mean, like, when you're that big, who besides Kanye got bigger than Jay-Z on Rockefeller or Rock Nation? You know what I mean? Like, Kanye he defied all the odds when it came to that.
that's why
You know what
people
I'm
have to
saying?
look on it on the Drake and the Weekend side. People's not looking at Weekend. Weekend smart. I have to give you it, Abel. You're good, man.
Yeah.
You're behind the
Yeah.
scenes. But Abel is good friends with Kendrick. And you got to
Right.
think of the atmosphere in Toronto because Abel is known not to be in Toronto like Drake. You see Drake at the basketball games, you see him at the
Right.
clubs, you see him
Right.
everywhere in public in Toronto. But Weekend, you never see him, right?
Right.
So he's known
Right.
as the guy from the city, but maybe he don't give a shit about where he's from. He's
Right.
in
Right.
Europe somewhere,
Right.
right?
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
he will come back. But when that comes back, it's gonna be funny because you're gonna have two big corporate pop guys. When Weekend does, he's gonna start showing him face in Toronto. How will that
Right.
look? How will that
Right.
feel? And they're cooking it right now. Certain individuals are cooking it, calling XO names now,
Right.
cooking it.
Right.
Yo, Weekend has power. Weekend has he's big
Yeah,
as Drake.
no,
So
for sure.
imagine how the
For
atmosphere
sure.
will be in the summer because Weekend has known not to be in Toronto. But when
Yeah.
he
Well,
comes, when he's
hey,
back,
listen.
Is
Hey,
Drake and him at
make
a basketball game would be good? Would that one be good at a basketball game or a public?
probably not. Probably not. If their crews beef like is said, then that's it. Like I said, those are things that people don't. Those are deeper level beefs that normal or like the average person is not gonna understand, especially people not from Canada or even not from
Uh,
Toronto.
Drake's place
Those
got hit. No, first
got
was
hit up.
Abel's place. His manager's place in California got hit first.
Yeah,
Then Drake's place. See, people forget about the whole story. It
that's
was
what,
it was
because they
weekends.
focus on Kendrick. Because they
Yeah,
focus on Kendrick. I mean, you got to think like that's not that's not good publicity for the type of artist that. So just look at the dynamics
mm,
of both situations. Like you can justify Kendrick being from Compton. There's gang
yeah,
activity
yeah.
constantly.
You could
It's
justify
being,
that.
you can justify that. That's beef is rap.
Yeah,
You can't justify a pop singer having even access to that level of goons and shit like that to even beef with another crew. Like that's again, that's real beef that's happening. And
that's real beef.
this real beef that's deeper than Drake and the Weeknd. But like you can't promote that.
No, they
So
can't
that's
promote that.
gotta
They're too
stay
corporate. They're too corporate
yeah,
for that.
you gotta keep that
Yeah,
under wraps, you know what I'm saying? So
but the
people are
problem
not
now,
yeah.
it's not happening anymore because Drake has a guy. I'm not gonna say his name, who's
Mhm.
cheerleading that shit on now. He's digging that
Yeah.
up. He not necessarily Drake wants that, but this
Mm,
guy's calling out the weekends people now.
right.
So he says we don't see you in the city. He kind of says
Yeah.
we never see you guys in the city, and calling them whatever, whatever. So basically,
Yeah.
but what's gonna happen when they really are here?
When they really are there, I can see a situation. Well, people listen, if he's never moved a different way, he's gonna keep moving the same way he's
Yeah,
always moved.
yeah. You're never
That's
gonna
not gonna
know.
change. Yeah,
You're
you're
never
not
gonna
gonna know
know.
where he at. He'll be right there in the city and nobody's gonna know
That's
because
what
that's not how
exactly.
he moves.
As weekend
Drake's gonna
is smart
continue to
like
move the way. Yeah. So that's why I think it'll be fun. They'll coexist just fine because
yes, you're right.
they're not
Exactly.
gonna cross paths. Their crews might get active, but
Yeah,
them two, they're gonna move how they move, and they're gonna keep
yeah.
their faces clean the way they keep their faces. Because at the end of the day, they know that
It's business.
the bigger picture of the shit. They let they homies fight amongst each other. Y'all handle that shit. We're gonna keep smiling. We're gonna keep showing up to these games. We're gonna keep showing up. You know what I mean? Doing these videos because that's keeping the money going.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I
gotta
mean?
keep
That's
doing
the
it.
money, and everybody in the crew understand that shit.
Yeah,
The heads know, nah, we protect him. We protect him. They stay over there. They do what they respectively do because if we cut that water off, the
he's
shit
gonna.
comes crumbling down.
Yeah,
If we
because
fuck up his corporate power,
yeah,
then we gonna cut half of the money that we getting right now. He go from 100 million to 50 million real quick
yeah.
because now it's you know what I'm saying. His perception didn't change. Nah, we gotta keep that shit the way it
You're
is.
right because I
Keep
think I
singing to them. Keep going to Europe.
yeah
Keep going. You know what I'm saying? We'll
yeah.
handle all of the bullshit. You stay out there.
It's true. No, that's his crew. His crew does that because there was a recent interview of the guy who they Kendrick dissed in the song Baka. He done an
Yep.
interview and he said Drake told him, "Don't listen to the noise. Don't worry about this." He basically he told him, "Don't listen to the noise and don't say nothing."
Yeah.
And he listened.
That's an OG speaking. That's an OG speak. You know, OGs. That's what OGs speak. They
Because
know.
the guy wanted to
That's
do
their
it, you know.
job.
He wanted to respond to Kendrick. See, this is what a
Yeah.
lot of
That.
people are not gonna say, right? Coming
Mhm.
from Toronto. Drake really put it down that don't say nothing at all, don't react to OVO. People call them OV hoes, but I'm gonna be
Yeah.
straight up. If he allowed these guys to go off, because I'm gonna say we don't have shit guys who are just shitty rappers. He would have
Right.
Baka would have came with something heavy coming from Toronto's to like if
Right.
he responded, it wouldn't be no. thing
Right.
like that other guy who's being
Right.
loud right now. This guy's more
hmm
a older vet. This guy's really been doing what he's saying. You know what I mean? So it'd be like Drake
Yeah,
would
and
have been
you also got
another
to think
energy.
too. Like I watched a little bit of that clip.
Yeah,
I think it was the interview.
you
I
seen
can't
it?
remember who
Yeah,
he was.
I know.
I watched like a piece of it, and
Yeah,
I think the piece that I did watch was kind of explain. He was breaking down his situation,
yeah,
breaking
yeah,
down his charges, and apparently it's not what everybody thinks it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I gotta watch the rest of it, so
yeah, yeah.
I can't fully speak on it.
Yeah,
But
we
what I
can't
will
speak on
say
it.
is, what I will say is, he's he's had run-ins with the law,
Yeah,
so he's smart enough to realize that okay, I can't. He can't
can't do
put
nothing.
himself out. He's in a position
We can't
where
do
he's
nothing.
trusted. Number one,
Yeah,
first thing, he's trusted.
yeah.
You can't never break that trust. You know what I'm saying? You're trusted by one of the biggest pop
Oh,
stars in American music history.
you're
Like,
right.
okay, you that's the first thing. You protect
Yeah,
the trust, because the moment that that's broken,
yeah,
everything falls. So you protect that, number one, and then number two, you have to protect your own reputation,
yeah.
because you understand, like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm capable of, but if I go outside, or if I break this trust based off of my pride or my ego, this shit can get ugly real quick.
Yeah,
And that's not just gonna get ugly for me, it could get ugly for my guy, and it could get ugly for my crew.
it's true. Because they gotta
So
travel. They
like,
gotta go. They gotta travel, and some of them live maybe out there too. Like in the West, they don't really live
yeah,
here. Some of
yeah,
they have they want to go out there. That's bad for business.
yeah. But remember, all of that's cool, but it all comes back down to what? That money train.
Yeah, that's true.
The
Money
money
train.
train. Protect the guy. The
You're
guy
right.
has to be protected. You know what I'm saying? And in order to protect the guy, in this position, let's just say Baca, for example, in this position, I gotta be the one to make the wise decision. I can't I can't react just
You're right.
because. Look at what's happening to, you know what I'm saying, to the Dirks of the world, the Yellow
You're right.
Beezies of the
All of
world.
them getting locked.
These guys, they're young and
Cutting out. Bless, bless, bless. It's the Down to Earth Podcast Network with Nat. Let's see if he's coming through. Nat Star. I think we lost the signal. But yo, bless up, people. Subscribe to the channel, right? We had this interview with Nat Star. I think he's cut out, right? So see if he'll come back. But yeah, I don't know. Probably his probably phone died out. Bless up. Let's see. See something come back. Yeah, we were just talking with Nat Star from LA. I don't know if he has some technical difficulties, but yeah, great down to earth interview. Subscribe, support the channel. It's your host Sean Myrie of the D2E. Yeah, see some time. Bless up.